Hey friends, I'm not going to do a ton of videos this year, but this one is mostly just to remind me of what I have where. And I have a little bit planted out. So it is March 15th, I think. I'm in a zone 6A. Welcome if you're new. I'm Sarah. This is Midwife Your Garden. And I just want to kind of point out that the next week or so here, it's been really nice for the last few days, highs in the 60s. But for the next week or so, it's going to be highs in the 40s and lows in the, low 30s. So we probably will have some actual freezes and frosts. So clearly not a time for your frost tender babies, but I am going to let you know what I have put in that I really believe will grow just fine. So this is where I plan on planting my tomatoes later in the year. So this swath here is stuff that I think will be done growing by the time the tomatoes are really huge. So I have some sugar snap peas, I have radishes, spinach, arugula in this bed. This is garlic, and when the garlic comes out, this will be cucumbers. But in the meantime, I had this little row that didn't have garlic in it, and this is carrots and more radishes. I have a little empty patch back here. I tried to cover it with the plastic, but it's not staying. I need to get some spikes for it. But this little patch here is beets. There's some more peas along the back row here. And probably some more radishes. That was a couple days ago. I can't quite remember. Of note, I do want to draw attention to this little patch down here, which was my fall spinach. And I've done nothing to this. It was not covered over the winter. We did get very, very cold here, but it is clearly starting to come back. So this will bolt much, much faster than the stuff I have planted for this year, but it will get us a jump start a couple weeks early before it does that. So I'll get to have some greens a few weeks early. Now I don't plant lettuces because I don't like lettuces, but now would be a perfectly fine time to plant them. You could get out kale and collards and all kinds of stuff like that if you really wanted to. Now over here, my first set of brassicas only half germinated. So these are the ones that did germinate and did well. Most of this is broccoli. This looks like it's way too densely packed, and that's because I do have 3 rows of broccoli. So this row, and that edge row are broccoli, but this in-between greens are kohlrabi, and I think they'll grow just fine in betweens. I have fertilized this bed with just a nice, good all-purpose organic fertilizer, but I think they'll do just fine. And then in this sort of darker section, I did take the leaves off of here because these grow are a little harder, but I planted some Danvers carrots in here. Yaya's in the other bed for my own mental reminder. These I will cover. I've got just this little bit of, it's really insect netting, but it'll work as a really basic frost cover. And I will cover this for a little while. Now, it's a little bit for the temperatures and a lot bit for this critter over here who really likes to try and get into these beds. She thinks they are snacks for her. This is Miss Molly, and they're not snacks for her, and that makes me sad. We did plant, I don't know if you can see them, a few of our little snapdragon starts. We had some really killer winds overnight after I planted this stuff yesterday, and torrential downpours, and they seem not at all concerned. They have been hard and off for a good solid week. They've been out in the 40-degree weather. They seem unfazed. I'm still trying to figure out where to put all those. These are my onion starts. I feel like they could probably go out now too, but I don't have space for them because they are going to go in my community garden spot, and that doesn't open until April 1st. So they're just out here hanging out, hardening off. And then my second round of brassicas are just starting to harden off. So this is just their second day out. So I'm not going to put them in until after this colder snap of temperatures clears up. And they'll fill in the rest of this bed. And if I have leftovers, then they'll go to the community garden. The other thing that you can easily be planting now, obviously the bulbs that we were supposed to plant in the fall is a good plan. I've got daffodils and tulips coming up from last year's planting. in this back corner over here. You can see all that little green. But the other thing that we could plant right now, just from seed, just in the dirt, is poppy seeds. Poppies really don't mind the cold. They actually like it a little bit. If you have poppy seeds at home and you were hoping to grow them, but they didn't germinate very well, you probably needed to put them in the freezer for a little bit first. Cold stratifying doesn't have to be that big of a deal. You can literally throw your seeds in the freezer for a couple days, take them out and germinate them. They germinate just fine. So I did throw a few poppy seeds in there. I threw some poppy seeds in here, some bachelor's buttons in here. These are definitely not ready, but these are the 4 o'clocks from last year that are gonna try and self-seed in this. And again, they're not quite ready. These are a frost intolerant plant, but they'll come back. The raspberry canes over there will come back when they're ready. The trees are starting. I don't know if that will focus for you, but just starting to get little tiny, sticking out their little buds. So hopefully a few more weeks and everything will perk up. But that's what I've got out here so far. I have a couple buckets up front with dill and cilantro in them that overwintered, thyme and oregano. Now the tops of those plants completely died off because again, I did not cover them. But those are pretty hardy plants. They should come back. So this is it. This is mid-March outside and I'm super excited. I just started my pepper and tomato seeds within the last few days. So don't have a lot of sprouts there yet, but this is about the time for them. So I'm just gonna get this bed covered up and we'll see you next time.